here of destiny as it mixes the blood in the urine. It's in your face. But I have to show you that it's in your face or you won't believe me. It's right there. The whole story is right there. So the judgment that Anu, who was authorized to issue a judgment because his rank was higher, issued the judgment on Nebuchadnezzar as the story is told. That's Hiram. That's the story of Hiram. Part of it. Part of it is in Ezekiel. Some of it is in the other lesser prophets. It's all there though. It's broke up. They use homonyms and synonyms. All of this stuff is relevant. They use star charts to confuse you because they know the stars not going to change. And that's one of the few things that they put in the books, no matter which one it is, that you can always check for frame of reference. They're not allowed to change anything stellar. If you see them write about a star, study that intently, because that's one of the few things that, according to the rules of this universe, they cannot change that on Earth where it cannot be referenced with the stars. Any book that they call a religious book, if it got stellar references, that's your starting point. Match the stars up first. Then match the stories up that fall under the stars. And then it'll clear itself up. You won't need nobody to do it for you. You won't need nobody. So this is why they keep telling you that there's astrotheology in the Bible, in the Quran, the Judaic religions. All they telling you is that everything man can change on Earth, he can't change the stars in the sky. So your elders, your ancestors, was wise enough to know this. So everything they did, they tied it directly to the stars so that you can read it in real time as it unfolds on Earth. And that's why I pointed out when I was telling everyone Hiram was raised. The stars point to the Orion belt. Who is Orion? The great and mighty hunter. Who was the great and mighty hunter? Nimrod. Who was Nimrod? The one they feared. Who was the one they feared? The only one they couldn't defeat. Sun Wukong. Well, what happened to Sun Wukong? Sun Wukong met the Buddha. The Buddha sent him to tame his Sakoma, his monkey man. He named him Hanuman as he became realized because he said, the Monkey King told the Buddha that no man may become God. They can all attain the level of a Hanuman. Look it up. It's no secret. It's all there. And so, if the Orion is the great hunter Nimrod, and if Nimrod is the only undefeated Sun Wukong, and the Sun Wukong went to the Buddha, the great wise one, and the great wise one told him he had to attain the wisdom of the ages before he could rule. And so he went on a journey to the west. Where would he go? Where would he go? If he's going on a journey to the west, where would he go? So at that time, the west was Africa. So he went to the Congo. So this is why they call him the king of the Congo. And they use the symbol of the gorilla, King Kong, because the gorilla is the only major mammal on the continent of Africa you will not find in the hieroglyphics. Now you got to ask yourself why. If they knew about chimpanzees and orangutans in Asia, well, not orangutans because they wrote about them over in India, but if they knew about chimpanzees in Africa, if they knew about baboons in Africa, and they knew about the elephant in Africa, and the lion, and the wildebeest, and they knew about stuff in the water that y'all ain't even seen yet in Africa, how the hell they didn't know about the gorilla? Well, spoiler. The only reason the gorilla is not in the hieroglyphics is the last totem clan to rise on Earth before the ascent would be the gorilla clan. So they were not allowed to use that symbol because the reign of Hanuman had not come. The reign of the Monkey King, crowned in the Congo, had not come. So they can't use his symbols prematurely. If they try to use his symbols, they would violate the rules and lose power instantly and ruin everybody's ascent, even though it's been evil, wicked, and painful. The whole purpose of giving her only begotten son is that no human be thrown away like trash and nobody be left behind who does not choose to be left behind. The only way you can choose to be left behind in the final ascension of this era is by choosing to do things that bring down your natural higher vibratory rate. You have to draw yourself down to becoming lesser than what you are. The more you try to become your best self, the more you can ascend and the more worthy you are to call yourself righteous. And this is why I say it's easier for a rich man to enter into an eye of a needle, it's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is a realization. When you get the comforts and you stop doing the self-work because of the comforts of the life, you forfeit your right to ascend because you are content being less than yourself in the name of a dollar. You're content with being less than yourself in the name of a dollar. So as long as the money is more important than your family, you ain't gonna make it. If the money is more important than your people, than other humans, you're not gonna make it. I'm telling you now, the money is the mark of the beast. Always have been, always will be. The money, the greenback, is the mark of the beast. But it's not the money. You gotta keep this in mind, because it said the mark is in your hands and in your head, holding the money and thinking about it all day. When that's your only purpose in life is to make money, you are worthless. When your only purpose in life is to make money, you are worthless. You are guaranteed not to ascend because you will not do the internal work that every Mason must do. He will not prove himself worthy before the Lord. In other words, these women is the precursor, the first recognition of your righteousness. And they gonna pass you. They gonna raise you and pass you before mama. And then mama gonna call you approved or disapproved. Many are called, few are chosen. Y'all gotta remember that. They took all of our story, they watered it down, they mixed it up. They added smear campaigns, damnation, condemnation, divide and conquer, separation, corruption. They gave us physical diseases and mental diseases. And all of these things is to stop our ascent. But without the opposition, you would never know how strong you really are. And we, being guardians of the galaxy, always knew we were strong. You always heard us talk about, even when they told us we wasn't shit, how strong we were, how great we were, never knowing that we wasn't even showing our greatness yet. The pyramids pale in comparison to the work that we did in the cleanup after these Babylonian vampires, bloodsuckers that require the blood rights. That's why it tell you clearly, the Old Testament God required blood. The New Testament Christ requires righteousness. Do the math, and it's in your face. So it tell you in the New Testament that the Christ came that you can be free from the law and you can walk in grace. How do you do that? Because apparently we're not free from the law. What is the law? It's the law of the Levite. What's the law of the Levite? They're all in there. It's the law of levies, Levites, levies, and liens. Don't pay them folks no attention. I got you. Me and you gonna talk later. The system of levies and liens is what they call the Levite system. That's why it leads with the word levy. The word levy is spelled Levi. They want you to worship God because God is a truth. Now, if you know Grimm's Law of Grammar say all vowels and translation are interchangeable. One of the 12 tribes is called Gad, G-A-D, for they sing the truth. Gad is God. So you know you're worshiping now. So when you say Gad, you're still in their system. Gad is God. Not gut, not the German word for good. That's deception. I'm finna get you all finna crack open some of this stuff before I wrap this video up. But that's a deception. Gad is who you calling on when you call God. One of the 12 tribes of Israel, and that's why your prayers don't get answered, because he don't have the authority to answer them. Gad, that you're calling God, one of the sons of Israel, is not authorized to answer the prayer. That's why you have to attach it to the amen, because the amen has to exonerate him immediately when you say the prayer and call on God. The amen, the one who is ruling by deceit and deception, behind the scenes, that one has to immediately exonerate the tribe of Gad under the law of Levi. Now, under the law of Levi, when Levi issue a levy or declares you erring, and he issues a rent or a decree, a rent of war, a war rent for your detention, a warrant for your arrest, your restriction. He's binding you in the name of the law. You're bound in the name of the law. When you are arrested, the word arrest means to bound or restrict in the name of the law. So now, how do you get bound? Bound in the name of the law. You get bound in the name of the law as the resort of the war rent. A war rent is a declaration of war on an individual, but it's metaphysical, not physical. But it will leak physical, but it starts metaphysically with the war rent. The war rent is a decree or a declaration of war. This is mysticism, and it's not what you would call law and truth. This all of the stuff that's energetically being placed on you as a spell. The war rent is actually a spell. The spell binds you. In order to free yourself from the spell, you have to identify the rent of war. In other words, you have to identify, yes, GAD, the war rent, and you have to protest it. You have to become a Protestant. But when you become a Protestant and protest the war rent, you have to realize that you're doing it in front of one of the brothers, or a Judahite, or a judge. The judges are Judah. Judah is a judge, right? So that's why they're telling you that the Son of Man is from the line of Judah, but he's not of Judah. It don't make no sense. He's from the line of Judah, but he's not Jewish or a Judahite. He's not a Levite. He's not of the lawgivers. He's not of the lawgivers. And so who does he fall under? He falls directly under the one that says beloved, or Dawid. He falls under David because he is an expression of Solomon. How do you know? Solomon means the soul of man. What's the soul of man? The soul of man is a piece of gold that goes in your heart. It's the soul light. It's the ray inside of you. It's your pyramid, the pyro, the fire in the middle, right? So when they gave us all of these stories, they never sourced them for you because that's your job. The right to discovery is why they created a library, in order to bury everything in lies, because you got to dig out the truth. That's your job. So they told you they destroyed the libraries of Alexandria. No, they in the Vatican. That's the Vatican library now, because Rome won that part of the war. You got to remember, they called it Alexandria. Who conquered? Alexander. Who was Alexander? Alexander was the one who went in the Indus Valley to get the military doctrine that he needed to subjugate the rest of the world. The caste system. The caste system had to be adapted. How do you clean up the genetic mess? You tie it back into source. They call it tying into the vine. If they don't tie into the vine, the genetics fall apart. So, black people that's been oppressed for 400 years wonder why we don't get no awards at the Oscars and the Grammys, and why they don't recognize us when we sell 50 million records the same as they do with Justin Timberlake. You got the pyramids. You don't need that shit. You created music. You don't need no Grammy. You created that shit. You wrote the fucking notes. The original notes of music was written by black women, or as they call black goddesses, that they call them enchantresses. This is where it come from. So, if the white people that you see in the Caucasus, Yaqub's grabbed the devil as a nation of Islam called them. The word devil means your enemy. That's all it means. In nation doctrine, it means that which is not original. If that which is not original becomes immediate in conflict with that which is original until a synthesis is found. Hegelian dialectic. Hegelian dialectic. You know? So you got to find the synthesis. So what do? You tie in that which is defective into that which is not defective. For a period of time, you will oscillate between defect and no defect until balance is met. And that's the law of mind. So the reason why black people agreed to this suffering and oppression because of the fastest way, and we were the only ones strong enough, and they was the only ones heartless enough. And when you put it all together and you do the math, you realize it wouldn't work no other way. We were strong enough, smart enough, and wise enough to do it, but we was too loving, kind, compassionate, and caring. We couldn't bring ourselves to oppress ourselves in order to clean the shit up. They never had a family. They never had what you call men of big affairs before the rise. Go back and look at the history from an outside perspective. You see it right there. So Mama wanted them to know what it was like to rule. And she wanted them to understand what it was like to be in power, have power, hold power, and fight the corruption that comes with the power. And so you hear them saying that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is all what we're talking about. And so, in summarizing it, the white people that was originally there don't exist no more. The level of birth defects is diminishing, so they have to artificially construct birth defects using the modern medicine and the poisoning of the child in the womb to simulate the birth defects that would not otherwise be there. When they stop doing that is when we tell them that we're not going to allow our women to be experimented on while they're gestating our next generation. And we will stop using hospitals for pregnant women, and all over you'll see what they call doula centers, midwifery, the original stuff. The doula center was the true source of healing for Earth. And I see you giving me hearts because you're going to be in there on that doula center. You can give me a whole bunch of more of them. I see you. Anyway, so the doula center is where pregnant women go to gestate in peace. Now, the doula center is only necessary for special women because once the family structure is set up in its proper order, the doula center will be in the center of the village. And the women will naturally go there at the time they discover they're pregnant. And they'll stay there until they give birth because they're going to get certain things in the doula center that they're not going to ever get in the hospital. The hospital was never meant for sick people. You got to remember hospitals were hospitality places for sojourners to go at night. Those were the original priestesses of Neith. And that's why the nurses wear the white uniform. Those are the uniforms of Neith. Those are her dress. You go back and look in the pyramids and you'll be surprised at how much Neith is dressed like a modern day nurse. Because her place of hospitality had nothing to do with the places of sex that they turned into brothels in the rape campaign, in the subjugation of the woman. And so now we got the whole story laid out in front of us when Constantine is putting this cross-dresser in the place of the Black Madonna in Rome. And because he done this dude been masquerading as the Black Madonna ever since. He's an imposter. The whole male priest, the only priest should be there is what you call your Swiss Guard, which is the protectors of the external reaches of the Madonna priesthood, or what they call your Catholicism, which is the cataholics, which goes back again to the stars tying into the planet, which is your zodiacal sign of Leo, which is the Sphinx, which is the female guardian of Earth, who sits and waits and looks to the west for the son of man to rise in the place where the three Orions, Orion Township, and Orion Township and Lake Orion, where the three Orions are, in the right hand of the mother, which is the state of Michigan, which is in the land of the chief of the two feathers, which is the land of the one who speaks the truth. The two feathers is he's standing on his second. All you Moors know what I'm talking about. He's standing on his second and he's speaking from the position of truth. And if he's speaking the truth, that'll go ties directly back into your revelation of he spoke and the two-edged sword came out of his mouth. For the truth cut both ways. It cut the righteous and the unrighteous because don't nobody want to hear it, because don't nobody want to be accountable. But it's too late. We've all been held accountable. All we got to do is accept that we have been held accountable. We paid our pittance, and now we need to unify in order to escape the destruction of the unrighteous, because nothing unrighteous can ascend, only the righteous. And they're all humans. Check this. All humans now have the right to ascend. Don't mean they're going to ascend. That don't mean they're going to taste eternal life, because you have the right to eternal life. Only you can forego that. Some of them thought it was a joke and literally for money on the table, stacks of money, sold their soul. I found a way out for them. Mama said find a way out for them. Now, whether they wise enough to make allegiance to her or not is up to them. But they sold it. And now they are a permanent slave in eternity to Enlil. He bought it. You know who the devil is now. And you know why he can transform himself into an angel of light. Because he's an avian. He's an avian. When I say avian, I mean he's from a bird clan. A reptilian bird clan. He's a shapeshifter. He deceived Lilith twice. Neith. He pretended to be the Adam Cadmon who couldn't perform to get her drunk and try to rape her. She called his ass on his bullshit. Then he disgraced her and called for her to be judged. Then he pretended to be the son and shapeshifted and condemned his so-called sister and to the dismal abyss for 1,000 years. And they went on a smear campaign. They feared her. They called her a rebellious woman, just like her mom. I did the story of Lilith already. Go back and check it out. You don't know what I'm talking about. The unity doctrine is the only redemption for humanity as a collective. Otherwise, the only ones who will ascend are the ones who have been doing what is considered to be righteous, not by what no book say. Because righteousness is written in your heart. It's written on your soul. No book can tell you to do what you know in your heart is right. If a book tells you to do something you know in your heart is wrong, no matter how hard you try, something in you is going to rebel. Something you're going to rebel. Now, so the black people paid the price, a small group, and it caused a conflict among black people. Because some black people said, you assimilationist ass Negroes, all of y'all need to die too. Because they were sent by Enlil to undermine the program. Because he don't never want nothing associated with the woman to prosper. Every time the woman want to do something, he want to kill it. So we got to restore ice skating. We got to restore ballet. We got to restore the singing. We got to restore the dancing. Everywhere you look, we have to see singing and dancing women and children with no alcohol, no PSP, and no LSD, and no cocaine, no heroin, dancing and singing. You're going to immediately feel that energy. You're going to immediately feel that energy shifted. When we flip this grid, anything that ain't right won't stay. I'm going to say it again, because phone's going to be dying soon, and I only put enough on to do this video. I only want to charge enough. I want to cut off at the end of the video. It's about to do that. And so the ritual dance has to be specific. It has to be performed and written by the modern day women, incorporating old techniques and new techniques. In other words, tying alpha to omega. Y'all got to pay attention. Tying alpha to omega. Because as it was in the beginning, it has to be in the end. So now, all women have mitochondria. And the white man hate the white woman because she had the first right to ascend before him. Now you know. The white man hate the white woman because she had the right to ascend before him. Because her genetics was cleaned up first at the mitochondrial level. And she was able to give and receive love as a mother. And it pissed Enlil off. And he screamed, and they say his voice was like many waters, and it shook both the heaven and the earth. So now you know. Babylon versus Egypt. And this is why your Egyptian pantheon and your Egyptian story, if you go back, you'll remember in the story of Isaiah. Nope, not Isaiah. Elijah. And they poured all of this, they got all these priests out here trying to ignite this pyre of wood on fire. And he asked them about his Egyptian deities. Where your Egyptian guys now, huh? They ain't around, are they? Watch man. Fire. Same as in the story of Exodus, when they talk about the so-called Moses going there, and Moses is asking them, where your Egyptian gods now? Never telling you Moses was an Egyptian god. Never telling you that the Moses that was raised in the Pharaoh's house was the Pharaoh to be, and became the Pharaoh. And that is this is why the Jews are waiting on Moses. Pay attention. The Jews are waiting on Moses because the Moses is the son of man. And they know that the Christ in the New Testament is not a man. So they're not waiting on her. The Zionists, as they call, the ones that wrote the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, which is the current blueprint for world domination that they following, not followed, past tense, ing, current tense. They're doing it now. If you see everything that they're controlling in the protocols, and you step back and you look at everything they control in real life, and they are exactly the same thing, it takes all of the guesswork out of it. It's the blueprint. But where did they get it? And who is these elders? These wise elders was a military contingent put together, not even in Israel. They was put together in the mountains of Europe where the catastrophe was discovered. And these people were called Khazars. They put together the protocols, the Khazarians. The Khazarians are not even human. They are Gulam, a whole race of Gulam, and they're trying to overthrow humans, both reptilian and mammalian humans. And they trying to get in the middle of the conflict and put themselves as the rulers of it. But Enlil did that. Enlil did that. And so you have two other groups that didn't know what to do because of the war between the Moors and the Christians, the Islamic Moors and the Christians. They became Hebrews as Sephardi and Ashkenazi, and Sumerian tablets as the Absu. The Africans call it Zululand. And it also encompasses a very specific area called the Congo. That's the Holy Land. I'm telling y'all where the Holy Land at. If you don't believe me, go send some reporters to ask Credu Mutwa or Goodwill Zwilithini, where is the Holy Land? But I'm gonna tell you this, as soon as they ask them, they're gonna ask you where I am. They're gonna flat out say, where is he? If you ask either one of them two, they're gonna say, where is the sun? They're gonna want to know where I am for sending you to ask them. So when every one of your reporters go over there and ask them, let them know that when they ask them, they're gonna want to know where I'm at, and they're not gonna be friendly. All of that friendly shit gonna be gone as soon as you ask them these questions. Where is the real Holy Land? Is it Zululand and the Congo? When you ask them that, all of the game's gonna be done. There's nobody on the motherland gonna be nice to nothing that don't cooperate with me. And there's some shit over there y'all ain't never heard of or seen. When you see the story of Panther, and you read about Wakanda, when you see what they're talking about Wakanda.
Or camouflage. And the best camouflage to infiltrate a people is to raise one up that look like them, that ain't them. Right? So when you read about in the history books that these Moors was marrying these slaves and having children by them, and they was teaching them to take allegiance to them. And that's why they forbade the mother line and only honor the father line. Because when you father the child by somebody, if you erase their mother line, there's no matriarchal connection. Therefore, they will never identify themselves as a matriarchal people. That's exactly why they created the races. A race has a beginning and an end. Right? A race has a beginning and an end. Well, let me tell you, this is the end of all of the races. Because you're either human or you something else. And everything that look human, not human. Right? Everything that looks kinfolk ain't kinfolk. And everything that don't look kinfolk ain't always your enemy either. But it's some motherfuckers with the pink skin, just like it's some motherfuckers with the dark skin, can all get the same guillotine the same. Because they are classified collectively as the devil, the enemy. But the ones who are in the position of right, these what you call blood rights, blood ties to the land. What do they mean by blood ties to the land? That means that you organic to where you grew from. Your spirit was going to come back in whatever fucking body was on this bitch, suitable to facilitate your vibration so you can fix it. So the war came to us in 1492. So you see the banner that say 500 years of native resistance. 500 years of indigenous warfare. Right? Now, this could have been over many times, but people like me was always killed on the ground, so they could never exercise the birthright. Right? That's why our children in our communities die at an earlier age. Right? All of these things also does something as a side effect. See, we don't ever look at the side effect. We always look at the direct effect. Sometimes the side effect tells you the importance of the direct effect, of it allowing it to take place. The side effect of oppression is teenage pregnancy. Women, girls becoming pubescent at earlier and earlier ages. If girls come into puberty earlier, they have a more likelihood of producing children earlier. If they produce children earlier, that means that it's going to engage more of the elder women, because it got to be a condition where the men is minimized. These elder women in turn begin to teach the children how to resist based on the premises of the government they under. It don't matter what system they create. The law of nature will always adapt to that system to make it conform to the laws of nature when the right person is raised. Right? So now we are remolding this reality back to the laws of nature to override the laws of man. And these laws was the laws that governed the game and kept us in the subservient position. Right? So it's a set number of personalities any culture can produce, because the law of nature has a wired in hierarchy or caste system, right? This is how the idea of royalty ever came into place. Alpha lines is what they call. The alpha line is the line that consistently produce the best candidate to resolve whatever it is. Every time, consistently. No matter what the problem is, this bloodline is going to adapt to find the solution by producing an offspring wired with the solution in him. Right. It's like Skywalker Ash was just saying white in other countries means status or class in society. That is correct. And one of the ways when we've discovered how it was being used was there's an Egyptian guy who came over here and they told him that he was white, right? And he didn't understand how he was being separated from us by him being called white and us being called black, which created a big uproar in the Middle East coming out of Egypt. But that's a whole nother story. The DNA test, if it's not a parental test, it's for entertainment purposes only. When you look in the fine print, it say this is for entertainment purposes only. I've seen a couple of them that said that. What that means is this: whatever narrative is required to steer the entertainment in the direction that the producer wants it to go, basically tell the story, he can control it. So they are notoriously not possible, first of all, to take your blood over here and say you related to somebody 1,000 miles away without having a sample of their blood as a control. And the way they doing it is they just telling people, send us your blood and we'll tell you your DNA, right? You might have found family with it, but that's an exception to the rule because they tell you it's for entertainment purposes, right? So what they will do is they will allow you to find some family because they got some testimonial to the validity of their bullshit. No contracts. All contracts are slave contracts. They all got some shit in there. The fact that you making the contract automatically puts you in the creditor-debtor scenario. Baby Hoove. I think I gave them a pretty good understanding of this game called life and how it...
What's up, man?
You got it, you got it. Where you calling from?
New Orleans.
From the NO. That's what's up. What brings you in today? What's your name?
There. My name is Rip.
Did you say Rip?
Rip.
R-I-F?
R.I.P.
Okay. Hey, look, that's what we used to call my nephew. So what you want to talk about today?
Whatever, bro. It's all on you, man. I'm trying to hear your knowledge.
You got any questions? You got anything you want to know about specifically?
Rules of the universe, karma.
I've been already talking about that. That's what most of the video about.
Karma.
Yeah, all that's part of the game.
Preach on it to me.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take somebody else if they got some questions. You keep watching, and maybe we touch on some more, get some more detail about that with some of these other questions.
Thanks.
All right, fam.
All right.
Peace, God. How you doing? Appreciate
Good. Loving them dreads, boy.
it. I mean, appreciate it. Now, hey, I cut it before because it was a spell casted on me. Back when my lower self, I didn't really know who I was. But yo, about this game. So you said the Europe black nobility conquistadors. Like when you like, so how did they even like start? And like, can you just elaborate a little bit more on that? And I just want to know about the voodoo
Wait.
game.
Slow down. You say, how did they start? Start what?
Like with the infiltrate, like how did they infiltrate us? Like
Okay,
I know
so
they like us and shit. Like, go ahead.
okay, so when we go back to what our ancestors were saying, they was making agreements with us. They was marrying into our clans. Right? But the whole time they had the intent to sell us out.
All right.
Right? That was their goal from the beginning. Now, they didn't only use one technique. They used the outright military attack. Right? So you have to understand what Cortez was doing when he was slaughtering motherfuckers looking for Cordoba.
Cordoba, and that was one of our leaders.
Cordoba was the city of gold.
City, okay. Cordoba was the city of gold.
Okay,
And
now.
Cordoba was in like on this land right here that we in right now.
It was the city it was the Atlantean city that flew away.
Okay.
They call it the Crystal City in the Bible.
Okay, Crystal City. Crystal City. And then one more joint, like you said, it's a voodoo game. And if you're not, then you need to be tapped into that. So can you like, because I don't really know how to, but the researching thing, it's hard to really research stuff because I don't really know what is real and what's not.
Listen.
Go ahead.
The voodoo game that they was playing, Conjure War, is high magic. Because I know high magic, I can see it when it's being done.
Okay.
I know that they told us that voodoo was evil, wicked, and we should stay away from it.
Right.
But I also know that we was doing voodoo thousands of years before they brought a Bible.
Facts.
Now, I also know that when they brought their Bible was when they decided that voodoo was something they didn't want us to know. When I studied voodoo, I found that voodoo is the application of the laws of nature to manifest your best life.
Okay.
Right?
And voodoo,
that's the purpose of it.
Uh-huh.
Now, people became selfish and started using something called low magic. Low magic is using base elemental magic to control other people. Right?
Right.
So they was taking low magic and they was using low magic on a mass scale.
That's basically like code lockdown. Low magic.
Yep. Okay, now, while the people are being victimized by the low magic, they doing something to keep the higher ranking of the people in a narcotic state. It's called bloodletting rituals.
Bloodletting rituals.
Right. Because angels in human form don't like the smell of blood, and the adrenaline from adrenochrome makes them senselessly angry.
Okay.
And they'll just start tearing up shit.
All right.
But the bloodletting ritual keeps them narcotized. Kingu, that's exactly the spell called Kingu. The Nuwabians identified the name of it.
Okay.
Okay, so once you start using voodoo, the spell can't work on you. Because you're finding balance with yourself as the first frame of reference. And as soon as one of us balance out to the laws of nature, perfect, we don't. She using us. Ain't no question about it.
Right.
I've been waiting on one of y'all.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So now you start coming out of the spell in reverse. You can smell the blood in the atmosphere of the children, the slaughterhouses, the mass bloodletting rituals. Right? You can smell it in the atmosphere. It's repugnant. It's like smelling it's not like a repellent like a skunk. It's like smelling real strong urine.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
In a real hot place with very low ventilation.
Yeah, so that's shit.
And it give you a migraine headache. And
So,
it make your muscles start to stiffen. It's bad. But you got to go through it to wake up. You can't wake up without smelling that blood in the morning, 3 a.m. while they doing it. Well, they not doing them now, but they was doing them rituals. Because Big Mama needs you to know what you fighting against.
Right.
So she got to wake you through the trauma that the world is going through.
All right. That makes total sense. So like
Now,
you got, all right, go ahead.
Once you come through the trauma, your anger is kindled. If you're not balanced, you can't control it. If you're not balanced, you can't control it. You are in 100-mile-an-hour rage with no direction. You just gonna tear some shit up.
Even
and this
your
is
own
why you won't know you won't know who to attack.
I am.
Right? Because
Right.
all the intellectual teaching is that our enemy don't look like us.
Right.
But the spiritual knowledge says they look like us and some of them don't. Right? So the spiritual knowledge overrides what these people saying. Those who want you to continue vibrating at a low frequency are going to keep pushing the race issue. Tell them the race is over. Tell them the race is over and the gorilla won. Right? So, so this smell, it does some fucked up shit to you. But once you get to the point where you can gain your composure now, right? Now you got to go through the adrenaline. This is where you have to be fearless in your shadow work. Because when she wake you through the adrenaline of all of the babies that suffered the adrenochrome, your adrenaline level rise quick than a motherfucker. Right? So now you full of adrenaline with no outlet. You might be asleep when you wake up. It might wake you up out of dead sleep. Right? But once you woke now.
Right.
Like you know what's going on because you went through the experience and Earth and told you.
Right.
Big Mama then aligned you with nature to the point where you know now you just listen to the people to hear how to translate the feelings of the grievance. Right? So then people complain, consistent complaints. Those consistent complaints become the grievance of the earth.
The grievance. All right.
All right. Now, the complaint has to be consistent, clean across the land.
You has to be consistent, clean across the land. Like,
yeah. In order to be a what you call a God level grievance. In order for Big Mama to assign it for me or Larry to fix it, it got to be a certain amount of people with the same grievance.
Okay.
Right? All across the land.
Right.
That means that it's a universal issue. It affects people unilaterally across all barriers and all lines. We need to deal with this and we need to fix this problem. Right?
Right.
So now now that we understand that the problem is here, the people that vex the grievance, then we have to codify it. That means, what is the consequence that go with this?
All right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you turn this shit around? Then you have to take it out to your people when you got all of it figured out. Your elders come to you and say, okay, give me the answers you came up with and let me go see if they fit. If all your answers fit, you got all the right answers, okay, now go present the problem to the public. Go tell the people what the issue is and see if they can muster up enough of their God self to wake up from the slumber and reclaim what's rightfully theirs by addressing the same grievance. Right? My job is to simplify it into one thing that covers all of the grievances. Right? Before I present it to the people, I got to make it as simple as possible for them to overcome the obstacle, because they made it as difficult as possible to keep us oppressed.
Right.
So the level of difficulty they created the obstacle, the exit has to have the equal amount of ease. And it's real simple. It's a battle cry, and the battle cry is Free Larry Hoover. Period. And that answers all of the underlying grievances in our community across the land, from our land back to our wealth back, to getting the imposters off the land, to restoring our families and our family structures, and going back to a more wholesome way of living, getting rid of the GMOs out of the atmosphere,
right,
out of the food, out of the ground. All of that is all that's part of Free Larry Hoover.
Right.
He's just one man.
Right.
But you have to sum up the total of grievances and the injustice that he was faced with. The injustice Angel Bay was faced with. The injustice Tukey was faced with. By the same people that's doing the dirt. It's sufficient for me to use either one of them as the battle cry. The thing being is, by me being in the clan of Larry Hoover, he the chairman of the board. He my chief.
Right, right.
So I use Free Larry Hoover. But to me, it don't mean no different than Free Chief Malik Angel Bay. Right? Where's Big Stan Tukey Williams? Right? It's all the same to me, but to the people, you got to make it as simple as possible. The simplest way to get all our wealth back, get everything back, is to get us to understand that the battle cry is Free Larry Hoover.
Right.
Once we get that to click, we can focus on one agenda. That one agenda automatically shifts when we reach critical mass.
That's deep. So look, let me get 2 books that you recommend. One for voodoo and just one like that's just something that I should probably really tap into.
I had a good voodoo book. Voodoo books is like underground shit. You can get some.
All right.
But the best voodoo information to try to go to you in the NO. Go to an old thrift store, look at their books.
Oh, Maryland. I'm out in Maryland, so.
Even there. Go to the thrift store, look at the old books. Try to find old grimoires or something.
Grimoires. But. All right, but.
You know, yeah, voodoo, you can find, it's a lot of people got a lot of good information out too.
Say that.
Look up Lucky Mojo Curio on the web. They got a lot of information on just their website.
Lucky Mojo Curio?
Yeah.
I appreciate this insight, guy, for real. So, real shit, keep doing what you're doing. Definitely with the movement, 100%, 100%. Niggas is tired of this system, this shit crumbling. So I'll let somebody.
Shit over with. We just ain't realized it yet.
This shit over with. So I'm gonna let somebody else get their questions in, share the light, and I appreciate you, God.
For sure, for sure.
So, I don't even know how to. Feel me?
Hey, give me a second.
Stuck up on you, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. I was watching TV with my mom. You have to forgive my voice. I'm getting over a cold.
Oh, you're all right.
So you were talking the other day about being like connected with kind of like you're talking about like spiritual connections with men in relations to the mother picking women. Can you like kind of
You talking about the heart connection that I was
yeah,
talking about the other day.
can
Right.
you explain that like a little more?
I'll go over it
Because
again. In your heart chakra, all children born connected in their heart space to their mother. Right.
mhm.
And the boys, the mother's love is unconditional. If the woman love in her heart never matches the love that the mother have for the son, he won't never fall for her.
So can that like happen unintentionally?
Yep, 100%. Most of the time, nobody's conscious of it anymore. It
Because
still can happen. It's still gonna happen, right? But we not as
right.
conscious. We used to know this, right? We
Mhm.
used to know this. When the heart spaces align, you pass off the mitochondrial from one woman to another, right?
Mhm.
If if my woman care about me and she know I love my mama, why do they have to fight?
Right.
That doesn't make sense, right? Why do they have these things where they make you choose between your wife, your daughter, and your mama? What are
Right.
they doing?
Right.
Right. So what they're trying to do is confuse the heart space, because that 3-point connection is the same, unconditional.
So my question is like when you find yourself in a connection like that, do you find it necessary to kind of explain that, or do you have to like just live it? Because I
You're
think
gonna
that's something
you're
that
gonna
happens
live it
to me
before you ever
often.
be able to explain it. You got to live it before you ever. You have to even be able to understand it from how you feel perspective. So you're gonna live it long before you ever able to explain it. But if you're able to explain it as it's happening, it's a playing the violin to soothe the audience, so to speak.
So how can you do that without sounding crazy? Because I have dreams, right? Or I'll have like lucid dreams about whoever my person, like the guy I'm with at the time. I'll have like dreams like about him, and then they'll be like precautionary, right? So to just be like, it'll be something going on, and then I'll find the need to be like, hey, keep your eyes open, like be aware, because there's stuff going on around you. And then you get the typical like guy answer where he's just like, oh, you just think I'm cheating on you. Like, no, I don't. Like, I'm
Okay,
trying to
so
tell
look,
you.
this is his mama testing you to
Right.
see if you can see how to protect him. He ain't got no fucking clue. He's a fucking idiot. All of us are, right? All of us idiots when it comes to matters of the heart, right? Because it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, and you sound crazy when you're just sitting here like, open your
Love
eyes.
shit don't look. The love shit don't make sense to the mind. They don't make sense, right? But when the mind is open enough to figure out what this energy is really saying to it, not only do it make sense, it changes who and what you are at your root.
Right.
You ain't the same no more.
Right.
Right. And women have to be cautious of who they allow in their heart space, because you turn that motherfucker on and he ain't ready. He all inside your head, kicking you in the back, You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can't control itself. And he'll tell you, I don't know what it is, but for you, I ain't never have to go through this shit with no woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too much for him. That's what he telling you.
Fallen angels end up going. So once we start matriculating north back into Europe, yep, Zumbe. Now, when you look that up, you're going to find that it means the same thing as the Sanskrit word avatar in English. That's where your word zombie come from. When they're calling you the walking dead, you the walking dead because your God form is asleep within you. And that's why they say it's in your sacrum. And you got to cross the burning sands. Or you have to cross the ruby red fluorescent. What's the ruby red fluorescent is the base chakra. It's the red chakra. It's where all of your energy gets trapped. We don't get too much into that. But we're trying to find out how to locate the gods on earth. Now, some people are born with natural psychic ability. They the gods on earth. Only problem is they get indoctrinated, and the indoctrination work the same way as wrapping them up with rope from head to toe. All of your psychic abilities is trapped within you, and you can't release it because of your belief system. Your belief system is incompatible with who and what you are. You got sacred sex and you got animal sex. All sex ain't the same. One person can have animal sex while the other person having sacred sex. But the one having sacred sex gonna change the one having animal sex. They can't stay in that animal state but for a few minutes. That's why men have premature ejaculations, because they have an animal sex. You can't have a premature ejaculation if you having divine sex, if you having God sex. It's not possible because you can't raise the energy in a 3-minute ejaculation. The energy won't raise. There's a lot of techniques. I'm not going to go on over them here because this is about identifying the fallen ones and what happened to them and where they at. Okay, so now you've seen them in Genesis 6, right? When they married the daughters of men. When you get to Psalms 82, they give you a whole discourse about the royal family being gods in flesh and falling like the princes and dying like men. It's telling you about your reincarnation cycle, or we can walk in too. If you want to know about walk-ins, the book is by Ruth Montgomery, and I think it's called Strangers Among Us. And they talk about the walk-ins in detail, and there's not a whole lot of people that can understand it. Not necessarily. Your pineal gland can be calcified and you can still have your psychic abilities intact. It's just that it'll be more difficult or restricted in how much of it you assimilate. I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. You have a child born that can see stuff naturally. And over the years, his pineal gland start to calcify the same as regular. But then something happens, but he can still see, but it's calcified. Now, the pineal gland in and of itself is not the only part of the awakening process. When they focus on the pineal gland, they are talking specifically about the third eye alone. They're not talking about the third eye and the ascension. They're just talking about seeing clairvoyantly when they're talking about the DMT and the pineal gland. You have a bigger portion of the brain called anterior gyrus that is your direct hotspot to source, meaning that it's the high-speed internet version of talking to God, and it's go through your anterior gyrus. It's about a spot about that big, probably about the size of a small plum in the brain on the right hemisphere.
when God try to talk to you or give you information, yeah, I ain't really too much, you know, I could do this thing celibate, but, you know, when you be trying to heal people, they still think you under the curse. They think you on some sex shit, and they tend to look at it from a slanted view. And the gods are more likely to be falsely accused of crimes. They more likely to be arrested on trumped up charges, moved from positions of power. They know who we all are. It can't be a secret if the plan is already laid. Now, if the plan is already laid, there has to be an end to it. It's an end game. This is the end game I'm giving y'all, because y'all have to know what the punishment was. So, black people kicking and screaming about how bad white people been treating them for 400 years. I got some real bad news for black people. You're not punished for your sins. You punished by your sins. The dirt you did is the dirt you getting back. But here's the kicker. The volume been turned down on your discrimination because you couldn't have handled the shit that them people went through. That's why you ain't want to touch them. That's not right. You mad now because you ain't allowed to have shit. You ain't allowed to do shit, be shit, and become shit. For 400 years, you've been going through this demeaned position in the global society. How did you get here? How the fuck did you get here? Why are you here? And if you the baddest motherfuckers ever bred on this planet, why you at the bottom of the goddamn barrel, and how did you get there? You don't know none of the answers to that shit, then you can stop crying about what the white man doing to you and look at the shit for what it is. The white man ain't doing nothing to you. What the fuck are we doing to him? Using them for a weapon against each other. That's what we doing to him. White supremacy wasn't written by white people. I hate to be the one to disappoint y'all, but I don't give a fuck. I'm going to tell it like it is. You just going to have to be disappointed. All of the social issues that we complain about are part of the fucking punishment for doing the dirt we did. Or the dirt we let them do, I should say, because we ain't the ones did it. The invaders did the dirt, and we stood by. We didn't do what a guardian is supposed to do. When you babysitting and you see the kids about to fuck some shit up, you supposed to stop them. We ain't stop them. And y'all want to know why we had to pay for the shit. Well, we all didn't. Only one of us was willing to pay for it in full with his own motherfucking shit. One motherfucker. Because mama say you can't just throw people away like trash. And that's exactly what Inky did. Following his brother's orders because he was outranked. They threw them people away in Europe. And Ear's wrote. Ear is Inky. Ear is Inky. When they say they threw them away in Europe, they ain't lying. And that's why Ivan Van Sertima had to go and find African presidents early Europe. Because it wasn't no Europeans before 10,000 years ago. Wasn't none. When you see them talking about Cro-Magnons, Australopithecus, and Neanderthals, them was niggas. That's what they call us today. Them was niggas. Them was thugs. Them was us. Wasn't no pale-skinned European. So what did we do? What was the cleanup? What was the remedy? In order for everybody to be on an equal playing field, on the same level, first of all, them people needed to be able to rule an empire. They came from being perpetual servants. It's in your books. It ain't no secret. It's in all your books. Now you want to bitch, cry, moan, kick and scream about injustice and inequality when you created this shit. If you didn't create it, you stood by and let it happen. And mama said, well, baby, the sealer is as good as the stiller. That's right. That's right, Portia. You know the Thuggy was Queen Kylie's way of keeping the balance of wealth. With her Robin Hoods. With her Robin Hoods. They was robbing the hood. Anyway, so when we was expecting that they would clean that shit up and they had no plan for it, somebody